inches from the corn, and it was about 6 feet tall. It had the head of a dog, high pointed ears, and I remember it just turned its head and looked at me.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2022 documentary American Werewolves. This documentary is directed by Seth Breedlove, and it is from Small Town Monsters, who I think actually do really quite good documentaries. I have watched 2 or 3 of theirs, and I'm sure I have reviewed a couple of them on this channel at least. I do actually think they do quite a lot of good documentaries. And this one, obviously, the title gives it away, focuses on werewolves in America specifically. Now, I think what Small Town Monsters generally do very, very well in their documentaries is like set the scene, set the mood. They're almost like telling campfire stories to kind of really get under your skin and really set the scene. And I really think they do that quite well in all their documentaries, and this one is no exception. Now, those of you who are looking for hard-hitting facts here, you're going to be disappointed, because let's be honest, what factual evidence is there out there about the existence of werewolves? Very little, I would suggest. So this documentary isn't about going on the trail of werewolves or giving compelling evidence that they exist. This primarily focuses on eyewitness accounts of people who claim to have seen these dog creatures, some of them call them, or man dogs, or essentially werewolves. And for me, that is the best part of this documentary. There are, all of them are effective in some way, the stories that are being told by these eyewitnesses. And you can call them crackpots if you want, but one of them in particular was like a park ranger that was telling the story. So, yeah, okay, skeptics out there, this isn't a documentary for you. Now, I'm not saying that I think werewolves exist. I don't know. I suspect they don't. But what I liked about this documentary and the other documentaries that they do, Small Town Monsters, is it kind of gives you a what if almost, if they did exist. And they don't put any judgment forward about these people that are being interviewed. Some of them are anonymous. Some of them are quite happily talking to the camera. They don't get like scientists on to debunk anything that they're saying or anything like that. There's none of that going on here. Essentially, what they do here is just kind of let these people tell their stories. They do give a little bit of factual information at the beginning of the documentary about, you know, where the word werewolves came from and all this kind of stuff, but the primary focus of this is eyewitness accounts, these people being interviewed, and some of them I thought were particularly startling. There's one guy being interviewed who was he was a younger man, a much younger man, and he was out jogging, and it was at night when he was jogging. He meant to go earlier, but time got away with him, so he went out jogging. He was like an athlete sort of thing, and he could got the sense he was being followed, and there was this stuff in the cornfield moving about and all this kind of stuff, and he started getting really frightened. So he decided, rather than going left, which would have taken him home right into the cornfields, he kind of turned right. And when he kind of looked back behind him, this thing stood out from the cornfield that freaked him out, obviously, and followed him to his friend's house, which he decided to go to. It was just really affecting the way he described it, the way this creature behaved, stalking him. There was about 6 or 7 people interviewed, I suppose, but I'm just kind of mentioning the ones that really stood out to me. There was another guy who was anonymous, who was fed up of being people saying he was a crackpot sort of thing. And he was like, he used to go out hunting with his dogs, packs of dogs, and he had hunting rifles, all this kind of stuff. And he encountered, I'm not sure if it one or a number of these creatures, that completely and utterly terrified him and freaked him out, to the point when this is a big, tough American guy that hunts for a living. He even says, you know, that he's quite ashamed to say that he wet his pants, he was so scared. Really, really frightening encounters. But I think the one that stood out the most for me in regards to fear was this park ranger, because they did talk about like this national park. I can't remember where it is, if I'm honest. There's got a lot of people gone missing and deaths and things like that over the years. And he talked about something that happened in this national park. He was camping with his friend. They were out hunting, sort of thing. And this thing was stalking them in the night. It just kind of continued to escalate. These creatures in the woods staring at them, sort of thing. And it just completely freaked them out. They tried to leave in the truck, and they was like almost surrounded by these creatures, you know. And the way they described them, they just sounded completely and utterly horrific. Really horrific. And another woman described how she was in a car driving along, and one was kind of keeping pace with her in the car, almost side by side. So these people are seeing something, you know. They do mention Bigfoot in this documentary. Maybe that's something they're seeing or something like that. But most of them do describe them as having like a dog's head sort of thing. So some pretty freaky stuff in this documentary. And like I say, it's almost like telling stories around a campfire. This isn't a documentary to watch if you want, like I say, facts or scientific evidence or anything like that. It doesn't do that. It's almost, like I say, just setting the scene. And while these people are talking, you've got like these guys dressed as werewolves in the back being filmed in like misty forests and all this kind of stuff with red eyes. That really does definitely set the scene while these stories are being told. And while it's not a factual documentary, it will certainly kind of, you know, get you wondering and thinking about werewolves and that kind of stuff. So if that's the sort of thing, if you don't want a documentary that takes itself too seriously, really, then you'll probably enjoy this. I do think they do quite effective documentary, Small Town Monsters. And I quite enjoyed this one. I do recognise it's not what I would call a balanced documentary, but it's certainly one that I thought was fairly effective. So I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. I thought it was half decent, to be fair. So check it out if you get the chance, guys. If you're into werewolves and you quite like documentaries, you might actually quite enjoy this one. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this review, and I'll be back with more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.